Okay, we're going to talk about the type tool and all the things that can be done with type in Illustrator. So I'm going to create a new document, and I'm going to do a print document, and I'm going to go with inches, and I'm going to go with vertical orientation, one artboard, click create, and here's my artboard. And here's the type tool. It's one with the letter T, and I can use that tool and click, and it will automatically put this Latin phrase in there, lorem ipsum. But that's just temporary. As soon as you start typing it, it will disappear. So I will put in my words. My words. There you go. Okay. Now I may say, well, this is entirely too small. I need this to be bigger. Well, I can do a couple of things to change the size. I can highlight it, and over here in properties, when I have the type tool, remember properties will change. This panel will change depending on what you have selected. So I've got type selected, so properties is now going to show me the character such as the font. I can change the font here. Waiting for the spinning rainbow of death here. Okay, I'm going to change the font and go with, yeah, great vibes. Okay, and then I can make the size. There's the size. I can make it bigger. And of course, if I don't want to use a prefab size, I can type in a value like 172, which makes it very large, and then move it over. Okay, I may say, you know what, this really needs to be not just one line, it needs to be returned, it needs to be 2 lines. Well, what I just did was I wanted to get in and edit this. So to edit this, I double click with the black arrow, double click until I see the flashing cursor. Okay, and then I hit return, and there, now it's 2 lines. Okay, now of course the space between the lines, or the leading, is over here in the character, and I can increase that or decrease it with the up arrow or the down arrow and bring them closer together if I need to. Okay, and then I like that little ligature there. Okay, likewise the tracking is here where it shows the V and the A. I can increase the tracking, which means the space between the letters gets bigger. I like the way that looks there with the M and the Y, but I don't like this. So I'll decrease the tracking back to the way it was, because I like the small letters running into each other. But I say, you know, I really liked the way that looked up here with the M and the Y. Well, I can change the tracking of just 2 letters. But I'll double click and I'll highlight those letters, and just on those I'll increase it like that. Okay, now that process is called kerning. If I just pick a pair of letters to change their tracking individually, that's called kerning. So there's tracking, which is everything, and then kerning is, 2 specific choices there. Let's see, I'm also going to decrease the leading just a little bit so that those touch, and I like the way that looks. Okay. Alright, now what else can be done? If you want to give some special effects to this, you can of course change the color of the type. I've got it selected here. There's the fill color, which is black. I can go over to the color here and just change it by clicking with the eyedropper like that, anywhere over here. If I am in edit mode, like if I have double clicked and I've got the flashing cursor, this won't work. Nothing changes. I've got to highlight it all before I can change it. But that's only if I'm in edit mode. Okay, so if I'm done editing and I get the black arrow back and I get the box, then I can just click with the eyedropper and it'll change. Okay. Alright, so there's how to change color. If I want a stroke, I can ask for a stroke here in Properties. Currently there's no stroke. Well, I can just create one, and the default value is going to be black, or the default color is going to be black, like so. And you know, so the stroke tends to be halfway, like it's halfway inside and halfway outside. I'm not sure if you can change that here or not. In Photoshop you can, but you know, if you say, well, you know, I do want a thick black stroke, but the thicker I make it, the smaller the letter gets. So if I click on this word stroke, I can change a few things, like what the corners are going to be, if they're rounded corners or angular corners, and make a, you know, that, or, and but down here where it says align stroke, the stroke is currently aligned to the center. I can align the stroke to the inside, and if it's a very thick stroke, it'll be full. I can align it to the outside, and I don't know why. Okay, it's not letting me change this, and I think the reason is because it's still a font. So, well, let's see here. Oh, it's because it was selected, and then if I deselect, no. Interesting. Okay, so now it's to the outside. Let me just change it. Let me check on this again. Align stroke. Yeah, it's not letting me change that, and I'm not sure why. It seems like when I, I'm not selecting it. It's just changing when I roll over it. Okay. Okay, I think this is the true appearance here. And then when I roll over it, it's showing me something else. But what I want to do then, if I need to really change this stroke and change whether it's inside or outside, and I want to get away from the default, what I would have to do is create outlines. I would have to turn these letters into outlines. So that's under Quick Actions. I can do Create Outlines. Then I go to stroke, and then now it should let me. It'll let me change where I align the stroke. Like it'll let me put the stroke inside, which is so thick it turns it all black. I can make it totally outside or centered. Okay. And of course the look of this all depends on how thick the stroke is. You can always affect the thickness of the stroke. Okay, but what I had to do to make that work the way I wanted it to was, remember, I had to create outlines. So this is no longer a font. I can no longer go in and double click and change the spelling, you know, like, or do anything to it. Once it's in outlines, it's a graphic, and it can no longer be edited that way. Of course, you have opacity here too if for some reason you want this to be somewhat transparent. All this is controllable here in Properties. Also, now that it has become a graphic and it's no longer text, I can click on it. And some other quick actions are ungroup, okay, and then release. Well, what that'll do is it'll take the counters inside and they won't be grouped anymore. Let me undo that. Command Z, because I need that the way it is. Okay, so but ungrouping means, hey, now I can play with these individually. Alright, so those are all some things you can do here in the Properties with type. Okay, you can even the fill, you can change the fill and give it, if I click on that little color chip there, I can make the fill into, let's see, I want a gradient, and I'm having to look for that because these things change. I'm going to go up to the top of the screen and look for, let me deselect here, gradient. I'm going to ask for the gradient window. I'm going to highlight this, and then this is a little irritating. If I click on gradient, the gradient's going to change to black and white. So what I have to do after I turn it to a gradient is then click on this color chip right here, double click actually, and go to either, well, if I go to swatches, I can change it in here like that, and then yeah, like that. So, but I can change either color. Like if I don't want it to be white, I can make it from, you know, blue to red. But that's how you make things a gradient. That's kind of ugly. So I'm going to go back to this. Okay. And you can do linear gradients. You can do a radial gradient. And by the way, all the stuff that I'm showing you on the letters, these are just graphic shapes now. You could do this to any graphic shape. You could do it to your polygons, anything you do with the pen tool. You could do that with. Okay, so I can do that. All right, and then you can also do some effects. I'm up to the top of the screen. I clicked on the word effect. You can't see it. Let's see. Yeah, I'll just go here to effect, and let's see. I might do. Nah, I don't want to do that. I'll go to Photoshop effects and do maybe dry brush. And you can't see off screen. I've got the Photoshop filter showing, just as if I was in Photoshop. But I could play with any of these filters and do whatever I wanted to. I'm just going to pick one that looks obviously different. And there we go. And remember, of course, if you're using Photoshop filters, be sure to look at the document raster effect settings and make sure it's high enough. Usually it's 300, and that's usually good enough. If you need it to be higher, go to other and type it in. Don't use 72. That's just going to be too low for you. Okay. So that's how you can add some effects. And you can even reshape things. You might say, well, this needs to be a different shape. Well, since it's been turned into a graphic with create outlines, now I can use the white arrow, click on a shape, and just pick an anchor point and move it. You know, I can, let's see if I can zoom in here. And with the anchor point tool, I can pull it and, you know, make it curved. Over here with an anchor point, I can convert it from a corner point to a smooth point, just clicking on that, which I guess, yeah, there we go. I had to click on it and it took a second, but now the handle goes out the other direction too and smooths that. And this is like a stick in a rubber band. You can just twist it and change the shape like that. I could go here, click on that point and drag on this handle and change that. Okay, so these are all ways that you can affect your letters. Okay. Now, just a couple other things about the type tool. There are different types of type. There are, of course, that takes on the characteristics of the last thing that I typed. So I'm going to go much smaller. I'm going to go to 48 points. May change the font again to something just plain for now, plainer. I'll have to decrease the tracking, which there's some preset values. I can go to 0 if I need to. All right. So anyway, if I just type like this, okay, it'll just go that way. And then I can hit return to get a new line. And you go, whoa, that line's really far down. Yes, because my leading is 122. So I can highlight all that and change it from 122 and reduce the leading. Okay. Or I could just select it with the black arrow, get this box, and decrease the leading or increase it. All depends on if you're in edit mode or not as to whether or not you have to highlight it. So if you're not in edit mode, you've got to select it with the black. You can not highlight it and just use the properties panel. If you are in edit mode, like you double click and you need to change something, you need to highlight it before this will work. Okay. Other things, other type tools we have. I'm going to delete that. We've got the area type tool, and what you have to do there is you have to create a shape first. Like, all right, here's an ellipse. I'm going to make an ellipse. And for now, I'm just going to switch that. By the way, if you want to know how to switch the foreground and the fill and the stroke, you just click on this little two-headed arrow there. All right, so there's my shape. Now I'm going to get my area type tool, and I'm going to click inside the shape. Click on a none. Okay, I have to click on actually the path. So here's the path. I have to click on it. Well, let's see. All right, with my arrow, not the cursor, but the arrow has to click on the path. And now it will fill in the shape. So I'm going to make this a lot smaller. Okay, and then there's, I could just type all day and put stuff in here, which once again, the leading is too much, so I'll do auto. There we go. I could type all day to fill this with text if I wanted to. Notice it conforms to the shape, and it'll conform to any shape that you make. But there's a quicker way to fill this in. I can also go up to the top of the screen, click on the word type, and go down to fill with placeholder text, and it'll just fill in a bunch of Latin stuff. Okay, but notice what happens though. Once I deselect this, the stroke is gone. The type is the type is in the shape of the form, but the form itself is gone. So if you still want that line there, what you have to do is select this and do copy, Command C, paste in place, Shift Command V, and well, let's see, give it a stroke. Let's see, I'm gonna double click here, select all the type, hit delete, and I need to, this is the shape on top. I deleted all the text from the shape on top. I'm going to switch this. Let me deselect there. Okay, yeah, that's my outer shape there. So it needs a stroke. And I don't know why it's not showing here. There we go. Oh, maybe because it's behind. Let me do Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. This. Okay, somehow I'm getting the wrong thing. That's the thing that I want. All right, and not sure why it's not letting me put a stroke on it. Do Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Okay, I guess, yeah, let me redo this process because I think it's too late to do it after. You have to do it before. So let me try this again. I'll just do the shape like that. There we go. And then if I want the text and the line, I'll just copy it now. I'll do copy, Shift Command V, and then I'll get the area type tool. I'll click on the path, fill it in, and now I've got it, because on the top shape there's no line, on the bottom shape there is a line. So you just basically have to copy it. All right. So that's the area type tool. You can do a type on a path, which can be really useful. We haven't done much with paths yet, but let's just do. I'm going to get the paintbrush tool, paintbrush tool, and I'll just make a little path. Okay. Then I will get the type on a path tool, and I have to click on the path with the cursor there, and it's going to automatically fill it in with text. If you don't like that, you just type in your own words, and they replace it. Of course, you can highlight that and make them bigger if they need to be. Change the font. You have total control over that. Okay. All right. So there's and then once again, the path disappears. Now here, you do get, I think, the option to show the path. Let me see, stroke. Let me do window. Let me go to appearance. Okay. Well, yeah, I think there is a way to show that path, and for some reason right now I can't see where that is. So I would do the same thing. I would just before, if you want the path to show, copy it, Command C, paste in place, Shift Command V, then get the type on a path tool, click, and it looks white just because it's highlighted. So when I deselect, there it is, and I can move it up if I needed to. But if you need the path to show, just copy the path beforehand. All right, what else we got in here? We got vertical type tool. This is my little pet peeve. Is where I just hate vertically stacked type. It just doesn't work for long words. It might work for the word car or to, T-O, you know, something simple like that. But vertically stacking type is not good. Now, the one time it works maybe is for restaurant because everyone's so used to seeing that. But vertically stacked type, if it's words that people have to read, it's agony. So if you don't like that, if you want it to be more book spine instead of vertically stacked like that, there is something you can do. You have to go to the top of your screen and go click on the word type at the top of your screen. Go down to type orientation. Again, we got to wait for the spinning rainbow of death. There we go. And change it from vertical to horizontal. And well, that changed the orientation. All right. I guess we can just use the rotation tool and do that. And then you get kind of a book spine orientation, which is, believe it or not, easier to read. Okay, so that is the basics about the type tool.